All right, you loyal listeners. Welcome to another episode of Agency Intelligence, where I give you a real agent inside a real agency, giving you the real agency intelligence and not the artificial that they try to make you believe out there. So here I am, Jason Cass. The whole reason why you're listening to this is not me. It is Mr. Ryan Keating is joining us. Mr. Ryan Keating. If you don't know him, you're getting ready to. So without any more, just the excitement is building. Here he is, Mr. Ryan Keating. He is here. He's very excited. They're overwhelmingly joyed. Ryan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm living that artificial intelligence life here.
Artificial intelligence. That's right. That's right, man. Hey, and I appreciate you coming on. I know you're busy and shit, dude, just like everybody else is, but this is overdue. And so I'm thankful for having you on.
I'm glad you asked, and I mean it'll be published later, but it's also Cinco de Mayo, and in my mind it's Cinco de Cas. So let's go.
Many people think that you're not the only one. So today is Cinco de Mayo. We're recording this at 12:06. This is the only time slot I ever do on where I do lunch. Usually it's early in the morning, as the loyal listeners know. Here we go. Also, loyal listeners, there might be someone who pops in here. His name is Ryan Chandler. You may have listened to the podcast that we did before where I introduced him to the world. I wanted him to pop in here. He's got a great personality, tons of energy. If he pops in, that's my co-host for the day. Anyways, here we go. Ryan, are you an iPhone or are you a Droid user?
Android.
Oh, shit. Uh-oh. We got somebody up in this house. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, I could use those forever. I just absolutely love them.
You gotta get the air horn. You got the air horn?
I don't think I have that, but dude, I need to get the air horn.
Yeah, the bom bom bom, or like what's it, right?
Yeah, that's what I need to get in
Air
here. I do. I got like the drum roll thing. Hey.
The hi hat. Yeah.
That's pretty good. And I guess we're gonna do the national anthem. We can sit there. Can you? Yep, he's taking off his hat.
I'm taking your hairline notes.
Oh, my hairline. Dude, I got more hair on it. Wait, it's going back. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It really truly is. What's the last app you downloaded, Ryan?
Good question. I think it's called My Mind. Trying this thing called meditation.
Love
it. Yeah, meditation app.
Okay, fucking right. Oh, sorry, loyal listeners. I mean, it's okay if we cuss, but that wasn't called for, right? You just don't have to say it right there. But yeah, dude, that's awesome. Okay, I love that stuff. And then, do you love to win or hate to lose?
Love to win.
Boom, boom, boom. You like to win. Any specific reason why you say that?
Usually because it's celebrated, and losing gives you a negative feeling. So,
Yeah. Justifiable. Heard that many times. One's negative, one's positive.
Yeah.
Luck or skill? What's been a bigger factor in your life to get you where you are now?
I would change that and say taking advantage of opportunities as they've come. So inevitably luck with skill.
So luck would be bigger than skill. I agree, dude. I agree. You can be the most skillful person in the world if you sit your ass in your house and never come out. Ain't nothing happening, right? It's lucky that you went to whatever meeting, met so whatever, opened up a business and became a billionaire. You're almost there, Ryan. Almost there. What you told me? You're like, goal is billion, and you're like halfway there. So it's unbelievable.
They made a TV show about me.
Yeah, that's right. Ryan, we all know that. It's okay. So Ryan, tell us a little bit about you. Where were you born, man?
So I was born into an insurance agency here in West Hartford, Connecticut, and left for a while and be back 6 years this September here in the greater Hartford area. the former insurance capital of the world. So us New England boys.
So should we assume that your agency is a woman since you were born into it? I've never had anybody tell me the agency they were born into. I was kind of talking about, where did you come out of your mother's womb?
Yeah, here in Hartford. No, well, the stork dropped me off right at the front door of the office.
Wow.
Isn't that how babies arrive, by a stork?
That's what they say. I mean, if you still believe that, I mean, you probably believe in Q and all this other shit too, if you believe that.
Well, you know,
But
I've not had the pleasure of, well, I don't think any man has had the pleasure of birthing a child, but I have no lineage of my own yet to witness. So
yeah, I promise you. I promise you it's not happening.
Yeah.
I just take it off the table. It's not happening. Right. So Ryan, we got to know each other through the Protege. Drew a blank there for a minute. Through the Protege. And you were, tell me about your experience on that.
I had a great time. It was the biggest thing for me of that was building my network even more. And then now season 2 as a coach, I'm actually enjoying the coaching side more than the contestant side. Similar to that, love to win or hate to lose. Helping 4 people win.
That's right.
And all 4 of them have been engaged and actively doing it. My tough spot last year going through the Protege in a family business dynamic and looking to launch Connecticut Risk was what I put together through the Protege. I presented my dad with a 1099 sales contract and he wouldn't sign it. He won't watch this, but so I don't get paid commission. And that was a goal of mine to utilize Connecticut Risk and the Protege for how a traditional salesperson would be in most agencies set up.
Gotcha. Interesting. So it helped you in other ways. It helped you personally with the agency and stuff like that. Because I know, I mean, so you still work with Dad and stuff like that?
We are. And I got him to sign a contract. I've grown up signing contracts my whole life. I want to get a bicycle, had to sign a contract. Borrowed videos from my grandparents' house, had to sign a contract and return them in a due manner. For real,
you're not joking, Ryan Keating here. You literally had to sign contracts to do stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Our first dog. Well, there was a dog when I was born at the insurance company that birthed me. But we got a dog. He passed away when I was like 3rd grade. And I kept, as kids do, when we get a dog. So we put a contract in place of when I get straight A's, we'll get another dog. And yeah.
So have those worked as motivators in your life since you've done it since such a young age?
Well, it's like a goal in ways per se if you start looking at it. But I never got straight A's again.
If you make the goal high enough and unattainable, maybe that works, right? Need $1 million in revenue. All right, that's going to take some work, and if you get there,
that was what we that was the contract we signed the other day, like 2 nights.
$1 million in revenue?
Yeah. Here, I guess because I'm mobile. I mean, it doesn't look great, but. And then they got edited to the process to start the exit versus, whatever. I was like, Mike.
So who signed that?
My dad and I.
Wow.
Because the process of one of the hardest things and I know your son's been getting active, right, with you?
Correct.
The generational difference of where people are in an agency, I think, the traditional insurance method is you build a book of business. And then you have your business within a business. Is an interesting model of the insurance world. But using my life and my dad as an example, he needs to take out of the business his retirement, his future per se, whereas to build and grow, you put money in. So we're at that awkward paradigm of, and being back 5 years, going on 6. He can do and maintain how it's been for 5-10 years. He's only 64.
Correct.
So that was part of what came up there. And so the goal of $1 million in revenue, he will retire, which we're around. But it started with a conversation about burnout and a LinkedIn post I saw, and burnout people think is being overworked. But there's other factors, like this started on lack of alignment, shared vision, shared goals. So I found out the other night his goal is $1 million of revenue, and then he would retire. And then he realized, wait, we're almost there. Start the process my sister's involved, so her and I, the transition and how that would look. So it's going to be much deeper than the top of a box signed contract, but that stems back.
I like it. It's great you guys are having that conversation, right? Because that's sometimes the hardest part, is to get that conversation going and then getting dad to understand. And when I was talking about $1 million in revenue, I was talking about for a producer, right? So like, that's some of the stuff David teaches and other things, is you want to be $1 million producer. And so if you made that and you signed a contract on that, obviously you'd probably fulfill it because you're pretty good at contracts. So your sister works in the business with you?
Yep. Yeah, she's been here.
And what does she do? Is she a producer, or what does she do?
Well. So the old in my dad's mind, I'm throwing him under the bus here. Unfortunately, he'll maybe actually watch this, but
He might.
That's what's hard of, it's like we do everything, and as you know, but in his mind, it's like your job is to just produce and sell, but there's more that goes into it, and and then the social media, the marketing. Like I had a podcast going for almost 2 years. My buddy and I, locally, weekly, did a podcast, and we'd record during the day and this, and he was like, "Oh, like why?" He didn't understand at the time what that meant. It was like, you should be working, and it's the older mindset too, like at your desk and this, but there's more to building a network than being at a desk. And we're traditionally personal lines, so part of the Protege too helped push past that path of getting into the commercial space more than a lot of rental properties, this and that, but
right. Have you still maintained that a year later?
Oh yeah, yes, yeah. I got a nice the home health care, or the aid industry is, I think, a nice market, and I've been able to work some stuff around there. People get
Are a lot of those non-for-profits?
No, it's but they're narrow margins because they're utilizing Medicaid, and health insurance payments are a pain in the butt.
Yeah. Interesting. So, it's an interesting dynamic of where, you're coming from. Cause like I said, you guys are now having the conversation. You're now moving it forward. That's awesome. You've got some scratch over there, which only means something probably to you guys, but it's an agreement on where you're going. So is your sister and you going to walk away 50-50?
Well, that's part of the when you don't have the conversations until it happens. How my grandfather and dad transitioned was, this is the number, give me a check, and he walked away, and there wasn't any transition. And unfortunately, too, kind of, what you know, and that's what my dad knows. So working and putting a plan in place, he didn't go through that process. And so her and I are trying to get him to that point.
Does he want to stay on, Ryan?
He has, it's probably like you. Some days you wish you were retired. Some days you're like, I can do this for another 100 years.
Well said.
But outside of the agency, he would be his wealth of knowledge is great, like consulting this, but he's never had avenues for that, which is, I think, a part of, like, you've put on BrainShare, you've built your network, connecting agents. Well, since social media has done that a lot too, versus 20, 30 years ago, it was very siloized, if that's a word.
It is right now.
Yeah. We're in Castland, so,
That's right.
And I think now there's the camaraderie and the make everyone better mindset helps a lot too, where that'll lead to opportunities. For him though, it's, his comfort levels at his, working 6 days a week. And my mom was like, we can get an RV and travel around the US, and I'm like, well, neither of you guys are good drivers and can't see, so that's not good for anyone. like who's gonna drive? Yeah.
A lot of times people too, I mean, family relationships, they're gonna, pay them 10-20% up and then float it over the next 5 years or something like that, to where you totally pay them off. I mean, and that's the easiest, especially if it's a family business, so you don't have to go out and get your own funding and pay interest.
Yeah.
Sometimes that'll work. So
Well, that's one of the, like you say all the time, that the insurance industry is the greatest industry ever created, or however you think. Yeah. And what's great with that too, every agency is run differently.
Amen.
And when you look at acquisitions or growth, and you can do things 100 different ways to make it work. One of the best things, from my dad, a positive, not, the bus is going reverse this time for him. He always said the best way of a deal is when both parties win. Since I was young,
100% right.
And that's probably like one of my biggest takeaways of that. And that's what makes insurance, you look at a deal, we don't sell a product that has a tangible feel good to it. People buy insurance because they have to, per se. It's required by law. It's required by a contract. You're buying a house, getting a mortgage. They require you by contract to have homeowners insurance.
Yeah.
And the media, people think they should save money. They generally have a bad experience with insurance via health insurance, because that's a whole wild world. But you're not, the sales psychology behind insurance is we're selling something that people, when they need it, it's at a time of loss, so it's not a positive experience. And it's also something that hopefully they never have to use. But the other side of it is, and it's another, my dad saying, predictive outcomes. In general, and using personal lines, you will have some type of auto claim, homeowners claim, so it's predictive outcomes, and you're predicting if this, then that. Do you know about parametric insurance?
No, I do not.
So it's a new area that I'm very interested in, and it's based on that if this, then that, but more consumer focused and finite payments. So they've been using it, say, on the coast. If the wind speed hits 100 miles per hour, then they're going to pay $25,000 to any policyholder. Instead of having to deal with, so they figured out, like, the threshold of wind damage happens at X, and generally the average claim is Y. So if this, then that, and it's very easy for consumers to understand.
I like that. That's interesting.
And so that's so.
What's that called again? Parametric.
Parametric, yeah. And so when I missed your fine BrainShare conference, I really wanted to go. I've actually never been to Kansas City. I've heard good things.
It was nice.
InsurTech Hartford here locally had a large conference with international attendees, and getting out of the agent world and in the InsurTech space of this, you're around innovators, different stuff. And so I never would have heard of that if I didn't go. But that's what there was a panel talking about with a carrier from Travelers, consultant. Actually, one of my clients was up there too for They run a company called Intelligence. And then there's a fourth member from an MGA. But it was very interesting to see. And like, so that's what's happening on the bigger side. We're front end as agents.
It creates more of a proactive nature of carriers, right? Rather than waiting for the claims to come in, they're taking a more proactive approach with their thought that if we do this, not only if we do this as a carrier, then we will actually save on the amount of claims we pay out over the long haul.
Absolutely. And so that was a big, we usually work in a reactive world. As agents, in the older model too, renewals and this, when I came on board, customer experience is huge in every industry. And me coming back, it's like, we need to be like sending out birthday cards to clients. And my dad was like, well, that's going to cost us $3,000 a year. And I'm like, yeah, but the proactive is showing you care. We make much more than $3,000 off them. Like, that's a small number in the big picture. You want people, going back to the sales process of it, they're buying a product and trusting us to insure them, but they hopefully never use it. So how do they feel value and the connection to us as their agency? And that's rapidly changed very quickly. Overall, the insurance industry, I'd say, has been a bit laggard. But it's interesting, like if you reach out to people before their renewal back in the day, it's going to cause them to start thinking about it and shop. It used to just, used to do stuff through the mail and fax. Like,
right.
Digitalization.
Right. And the thing is that, I mean, and we've learned off of those. Billy Williams talks about contacting them 60 days before and having a conversation with them about, hey, I want to let you know we're looking at it, da 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 da. When you call back to set up an appointment, a lot of times they don't set up the appointment with you and they stay. It's just the fact that they know that something's going on. I was at BrainShare and they were talking about a guy who he uses this for phone drops, right? So he's got the slide dial business. He's has all of the birthdays in there. And he's got hey, this is so-and-so from, hey, this is Jason from the Insurance Alliance. Just wanted to wish you a happy birthday. Everybody here, appreciate your business. And that's an automatic recording that gets dropped automatically. And I think Paradiso said that's like 1 or 2 cents a call to do that.
Yeah.
And you look at those different types of things and you can see, I like this, if this, then that. I like that. It gives me something to actually look into and read more about. Very interesting, Ryan.
Yeah, I think it's, I have a call on Friday with one of the women who was on the panel. So I look forward. I mean, that was my biggest takeaway from the conference, and I was really excited to learn about it and learning more about it. The other takeaway I had too, well, there was a few, but personal cyber insurance, and where that market's going to go. There's no standalone products right now. Hartford Steam Boiler has an endorsement. You guys don't have Plymouth Rock in your area, right? I think they're just in New England.
No, we don't.
Have you seen any carriers that have taken on
no
personal cyber?
I haven't.
But it's needed.
It is, and we're going into. There was a whole breakout panel on the metaverse, and what it is, and where that's going to be for insurance. I mean, people own digital real estate, and retail and avatar. Like there's like you can. Well, yeah. I mean, I say you can have an avatar and try on a dress. Maybe you might like that, Jason. I don't know, but they're changing.
No, but you're making some very good points here. I mean, and there's a lot of digital real estate that needs to be protected.
Yeah.
And really, it's not cyber liability; it's cyber insurance.
Yep.
That is something that we've really messed up. It's not your liability for you doing something to somebody else, cyber. It's the fact that your shit gets taken or held ransom or something of that nature. I think a lot of people, well, what if they steal your, what if you have somebody else's data and it gets stolen from somewhere else. Well, that's not actually a liability. That's actually data compromise, right? Someone stole my data. Now I need to notify people. Now we need to try to recover the data. But I think there's a cyber liability. And I'll be honest with you, Ryan, I didn't know that until I was in Tampa last year. And I was at the boot camp and the cyber guy was talking and he really broke that down. And I was like, oh shit, it's not cyber liability. It's cyber insurance. So and so you're talking about that on a personal level, right? Getting that
Absolutely.
cyber insurance for that digital stuff.
And
Right,
as
dude.
as a
That's a good point.
standalone product, because then you look at large cities too, where people don't own homes or they're renters. So yeah, you could have an endorsement to your renter's policy, but most apartments included in your rent, they pay it separately. But so as a standalone product, it's a great low barrier of entry too to bring someone into your network and database. But also as we get into like people owning NFTs, digital currencies, and things like that too, and where that's going to fall.
What I'm thinking.
And there's identity fraud, but that's more on a transactional basis. Like if your credit card gets stolen or used, then the credit card company just plays with funny money and like they take it back.
Right.
But and even like cyberbullying or your social media accounts get hacked. Someone uses your identity digitally and falsifies things like that. It's a whole world that's gonna. How do you protect yourself personally for that? And
God, I can only imagine you trying to explain this shit to your dad. I mean, and that's no disrespect. You know what I mean? It's just like trying to wrap his a lot of people of his age are trying to wrap their mind around things happening today, let alone trying to get them to build off of that and figure out. I mean, this shit's hard for us to wrap our heads around in 5 to 10 years,
Yeah. No, and so I met a company out of Israel that we had a good talk with yesterday. And I'm trying to building a pilot idea with them, and I think I got to create an MGA or something too. But I like their product. It was exactly what I've been thinking of. And I met the guy right at the end of the conference. I'm like, wait, you're doing what? I'm going to talk. And like everything I was just talking about and thinking about, they've already created and they have. He's like, we got over 30,000 policyholders in Israel, but they haven't found anyone to partner with COVID and travel. So the U.S. has been untapped for them, which was another takeaway. My Parametric was the biggest takeaway. This connection was my biggest connection of the conference. But the other thing I took away is these insurtechs need distribution, and there's SaaS, software as a service, but there really is also a need for sales as a service. And I had a call with Hanley yesterday. We talked about this a little bit too. It's basically you're playing matchmaker, and you pick winners. So you pick companies that are going to win to match with when you build a distribution channel. And so that's another large, big picture idea that I'm going to be working.
Wow, dude! I didn't know you had large, big picture ideas like this. So this is interesting. Next time we talk, we're going to angle more to that. Wrapping this up, anything else you want to say?
I was about to say almost I've never been to Illinois, but then I remember Chicago's in Illinois, and I have been to Chicago. So
yeah, I'm 5 hours south of there.
Yeah. You're in the mainland. Chicago's its own little world.
It is. That's the truth.
But no, I don't know. I'm glad you got me on.
Well, this is a great conversation. I guarantee the loyal listeners have loved this. This has just been us going back and forth. This has been great.
Yeah, and nice, short and sweet too.
Yeah, I've been shortening all mine. I've been trying to keep them under 30 minutes. So unless it's Hanley and I yelling at each other about politics, then it goes an hour.
But dropping F-bombs.
Yeah, lots of.
Well, I mean, even just talk on that. So the Protege, he was one of my coaches, and that really, he's been a great resource and just guy to talk with. I'm excited. So his rogue risk thing, there was a time, I was like, well, why? He's like, why don't you come work for Rogue? And I almost did. As we've gone through, my dad and I in this, and to sell nationally versus locally, the platform I think is fantastic that he's built. And then now that he's built the connection with SIAA so back to distribution. So now he's got a larger resource for distribution. It's very interesting and excited to see where he takes it.
I agree. I think he's going to take it to the world. I mean, I've taken it. He's been wanting to do this. He wanted to do this in the health industry. He wanted to create little offices all across America. He's going to do it. He's got the resources of SIA now, as you said. I mean, that's a lot behind him. It's actually been a pleasure knowing Ryan for 12 years. Ryan and I have been through some shit. We've talked about it before. Him and I talked about it. It wasn't easy at the beginning for him and I. Talking about, and once again, if your father's listening to this, talking to someone of his generation, as you mentioned, there were no Ryan Keatings. There were no David Carruthers. There were no Nicholas Ayers. They were none of that. There was me, Ryan, and maybe Brent Kelly that were pushing it, and people were telling us we were the most immature people. We'd never make it in the industry. Our thoughts were stupid and all this stuff. I mean, it was brutal, dude. We would take that stuff in an open environment. And now we have these conversations about what's happening in the future. And I greatly appreciate you being a part of it, dude. I really, truly do. All right, man.
I think, like you say, it's the greatest industry God ever created, and there's so much more to it than being an agent per se.
So much more.
Someone told me time, like, if the insurance industry was a country, it'd be the third highest GDP behind China in the U.S. And I think as agents, we get stuck in the not narrow-minded, but our day-to-day is dealing with usually reactive issues for our clients. And taking a step back, the industry as a whole, there's so much going on in it. And there's a lot. One guy told me, I used to sell credit card processing, gypsy sales, as I was told I was doing. But the guy who was my sales guy, I learned a lot doing that. It was a great foundational sales training. Actually, Kyle Hoke, Carruthers co-host, and his protege, Sidcor was the parent company. We both went through their program. It's a great foundation of sales. But my sales coach there, a million ways to make $1 million. Back to the $1 million book of revenue producer is the pinnacle insurance goal. But yeah, $1 million ways to make $1 million, and the insurance industry provides a lot of those opportunities. Man, I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. All you loyal listeners out there, everything that we talked about here, we talked about opportunity, just as Ryan was talking a minute ago, and it makes me remember the 5 laws and the 5 truths of insurance. I have said that there are 5 truths. The first 2 have to do with you personally. The last 3 have to do with you giving back. And what I say is number 1, flexible schedule. Number 2 is financial freedom. Number 3 is a community builder, someone in your community that means somebody. You then can have an empire that you build. That's a great thing about the opportunity Ryan was talking about. And number 5 is mentorship. Flexible schedule, financial freedom, someone in your community, empire builder, and mentor. If you can do those things, not many industries offer that. And number 6, residual income. Nothing better than that, baby. Do the work once, maybe twice, get paid for a long time. What in the hell was that? That was the air horn.
Oh, I'm going to get the air horn. I'm telling you. Oh, shit. Hey, we're going to see you later. Look at that. I'm fast. He's lying. See you later.
Shit, thank you.